like the percentage of being done. That was my question I was going to ask. So that was perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. No, that was good timing for that question.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll touch on quite a few of those things tonight. I'll bring up the clock tower plan, which I think is a good plan. But I'm sure there'll be some naysayers out there, but I actually think it's a very wise idea. What else with that? Lightly touch on, there's questions of access, for people that want to walk the old building, and then, staff that want to see the new building. So, we're having talks of that. So I'll kind of touch on, some of the factors that we're kind of following on those, and we'll see what's left of it.
My plan is to stay on as long as I can. I did talk to Cheryl Mamoni a little bit ago, and my phone was going out. So she is going to do the policy for me just in case. So that's my,
yeah.
So just a heads up, my plan is to stay on as long as I can, but if I end up ditching, that's why. And
no
Cheryl is going to do the policy for me.
Okay. And they're second reads, and they submitted the change for the one that we talked about.
Correct.
So, I don't see anything.
And that's kind of why I watched the building committee today, so that I knew I was up on that stuff.
Yeah. You're on mute, Miss Crowley. Mrs. Crowley, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is she away, or is that her background?
No, it's real.
Oh,
it's real.
How nice.
She's on the roof of her house.
I'm on the roof of my house. Say roof.
Yeah.
Did you see your picture on Twitter?
I don't have Twitter. I'm not a bird. I don't tweet.
Your picture, my picture of the outstanding women in East.
Oh, I did see that, because I do have Facebook, and I'll tell you right now, I learned how to Snapchat while I was on vacation, because that's the only way I could share my photos with people without putting them on Facebook.
That was a very nice picture.
So full disclosure, I think it's awesome that the women of the school committee and so forth were on that. I was a little slighted that when they did the people of color for Black History Month, they did not include myself. They did all city side.
Well, Joel, if it makes you feel better, he didn't include my name. So, but I didn't vote for him either. So you never know.
You didn't include your name?
No name, just my photo. Jenny's name, not my name. But I didn't vote for him. I didn't expect my name.
Oh, I think that must have been a mistake.
I think that's
Crowley. Do you really think that was a mistake?
But I'm only the second person of color to ever be on the school committee, and you don't include.
Yeah, it should have been, Joel. Right.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Okay.
You just take it from the source and move on.
Yeah.
That's
honestly, I was like, oh, I guess they're only going to do city side. That's kind of petty.
Yeah.
And then, so that's why I thought it was great when I saw for the women that they actually included the school department. So I'm like, okay, that's better.
Yeah, Mary Nascimento actually shared it, and that's how I saw it. I don't know why I have no light. These iPads have light that can come out or something. I need a selfie light or something.
I don't know if they do.
I don't know, but my phone does.
Ask Ben.
I don't know. I have my daughter's Chromebook, so I can have the agenda. No, I have a flashlight.
That doesn't help a lot.
Nope.
A little on your face.
Hey, is Principal Letty on the witness protection program now?
Oh my God, Joe, of all people for it to happen.
Hey, I worked at Mount Pleasant Academy, by the way. That's a great school.
Craig, you like that?
Was a knife.
That's the best. That was the best line of the whole day, Joel. Best line.
Stop
I mean, I'm just trying to make light of it. Obviously a very sad, serious
Oh,
situation,
very
but
sad, yeah. Oh, but of all people, actually, she just comes off one incident and go. Oh,
Matthew? Help me.
I'm telling you.
Ben.
he's on the phone.
Oh, all right.
Jessica trying to get her some light.
Do you want me to wave him down for you, Sid?
I think I actually can share. I think I'm a co-host, but I just don't want to have to, like, during the meeting,
Hey,
for
Ben,
him to share.
Yes.
Sandy's got a question for you.
Yes, Sandy.
Can you, can I be able to share? This has been a long day. I'm not thinking straight right now.
Yes, I will make you a co-host. You're
Thank
good to
you.
go.
Yeah, very busy day. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
There's a line at the door.
Is there?
No,
Oh, you lying. I'm
yeah.
telling
The only line at the door is the one that I drew in with the Sharpie.
you. Okay. Hi, Jenny.
Well, he's got the best view in the house. He's got the 65-inch TV just to himself.
Yeah,
Yeah, look at him sitting there.
what can I find?
Hi, Max. Hi, Charlie.
What's there? Here we go.
Sharon. Sharon,
Yes, Kathy,
can you add Nick to that meeting tomorrow at 9:30, please?
I will, yes.
No, he has to teach.
Thank
Let's make sure that's one of the.
you.
Come on, I have 2 minutes to
Look at the
This-
public comment box.
give somebody a hard time.
Mm,
Everybody's fair game except Celeste, because Celeste scares me. So
He scared me.
Well, that's a good thing.
yeah. Listen, you growing up in my house, you learn to read the eyes.
Do you think we'll start to get people come in?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Tony's sitting there. I don't want to hear you yell for
Actually,
Tyler to
some
get you a
great
drink
shots
or
there.
anything.
Very nice.
That's just with an old iPhone.
All right, I'm going to get the live stream going. And we are live.
We're alive. Okay. Call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I,
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
States
of
of
America
America, and to the
and to the
republic,
republic for which it stands,
one nation, under
one
God,
God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda is Student Liaison Grant Wozencroft.
Good evening.
Hello, Grant.
Since my last report, it has been quite eventful at East Providence High School. In sports news, the winter season is wrapping up, and many of our teams deserve recognition for their accomplishments. Firstly, I, on behalf of EPHS, would like to congratulate Dylan Slavic on winning the high jump event at the freshman state track meet. Yeah, let me fix my camera there. Which allowed him to qualify for the state meet. Also, we'd like to congratulate the boys swim team on their undefeated record in Division III state championship. Those on the team include Ryan Branch, Nicholas Capobianco, Cameron Evora, Ryan Heatherton, Jacob Langile, and senior captains David Capobianco and Andrew Langile. This winter season, the boys basketball team had a great season, making it to the playoffs. And the girls basketball team also had a strong season with lots of young talent for the future. Transitioning into spring seasons, golf and lacrosse signups are now out in the student emails, and students need to be registered on Family ID, which they can access through the school website. If any parents watching have any questions, they can be referred to the athletics department. The Townie football team is now practicing ahead of their upcoming season, and the marching band is also beginning to practice and are expected to perform at the April 3rd home game. The band will be taking special social distancing into account for their performance. Continuing with the arts, the cast for the spring musical of Mamma Mia is rehearsing in small groups in a socially distant way to keep all safe. Miss Lasorsa, and the cast are targeting a late April performance date and planning on a virtual show. In STEM news, we'd like to congratulate Kennedy Go on winning the National Center for Women in Information Technology Affiliate Award for aspirations in computing. She will be awarded at a virtual ceremony on May 1st. Students at East Providence High School are excelling both inside and outside of the classroom. Despite such hard times we are all enduring, and it is important that we look to recognize individuals for these accomplishments. This is no different for the senior class. This class has missed out on many of the fun opportunities and perks of being a senior. They missed out on both proms, and they have not had the opportunity to truly gather as a class. There is no way of making this, or masking this rather, there is no way of masking how unfortunate this is. Many seniors, however, have looked to make the most of this year, and the 2021 class committee, advisors, and parents are looking to help. Events are currently being planned to celebrate the senior class, such as a possible dance or other outdoor event. The administration will look to get more details out as we continue throughout this year. In other news, the new hybrid Wednesday schedule has been in effect for a few weeks and has been described as seamless and smooth. Also, scheduling has begun for the 2021 and 22 school year. Every family can access the program of studies for information on classes and can check the student's guidance counselor's Google Classroom for more information. Some upcoming events for the school. On March 15th, there will be a professional development day for teachers, and the unified volleyball team is currently in full swing during this third season. There will be a girls volleyball game at South Kingston on March 18th. And on the 22nd, NEASC will be coming in for evaluations for the school's reaccreditation. The last day for seniors is June 2nd, and the graduation is planned for June 8th. That's all I have right now.
Thank you, Grant. And congrats to everyone that was recognized. I saw the undefeated swim team, and I don't know if that qualifies them to move up to Division II, but it's a great season. Next item, please.
The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda with communications, correspondence, homeschool requests, and approval of minutes for the February 9, 2021 school committee meeting and the February 8, 2021 building committee meeting.
Any comments or discussion? Do we have a motion to approve the homeschool requests and minutes?
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Mr. Brandel. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Eznero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
The next item is PTO, PTA, EPLAC reports.
I would just like to remind everyone that EPLAC is still taking nominations for the recognition night up until the end of March 30th. You can email eplac@epschoolsri.com for more information. So if you know anyone that is deserving and you'd like to nominate somebody, please do so. I know that there are 2 restaurant nights. Riverside Middle School PTSA has restaurant night Thursday at Cello's on Warren Avenue, and Waddington has a restaurant night on Monday, March 15th at Miller's. I don't know any other ones off the top of my head right now.
Okay. Thank you. And there's no one here, so we'll move to next item, please.
The next item is public comments 1, agenda items.
Again, no one in the audience. Sharon, do we have any, or Ben, anyone online? Okay, so we have one.
We have one public comment.
Okay, sharing to the screen. And
Sharon, can you see this?
It's very,
I can read that for you.
You can read it too if you want.
I can't see the response. I can't see it.
It's Stephanie Muse, 1050 Waterman Avenue, East Providence.
And here's the comment. I need to know a little bit.
Can you see it, Sharon? Otherwise, I can read it.
Okay, yes.
I can, but some of my screen is blocked. Maybe you make it smaller for me.
I can do it. Hi, my name is Stephanie Muse. I'm an East Providence parent and educator in Central Falls. I am writing today after hearing the commissioner respond to questions in the media asking if Rhode Island families can opt out of RICAS testing this spring, an option many families are seeking this year. In particular, families who have kept students home for remote learning and would need to send their students into the building to participate. Commissioner Infante Green has repeatedly withheld information from families about their right recognized by ESSA to opt their children out of state testing for any reason, saying it is not state policy and not part of what we are doing here in Rhode Island. Fair Test, and both NEARI and AFT agree that ESSA protects both the family's right to opt their child out for any reason and the right of educators to inform families of their options. Given that correct information it is difficult to come by, I want to urge the committee to encourage schools to make information about families' rights to opt their child out widely available to all families. This information is important any year, but feels of vital importance this year when the risk to students' mental and physical health of participating in testing is elevated and the payoffs of such risks for the district are compromised. I have done a lot of research and community activism on the topic and am happy to engage in further conversation with any member of the committee or community who wants more information. Thank you for hearing me tonight. Stephanie also sits on my district school improvement team. I'll just mention that.
Thank you, Superintendent. And we will, I think that's one of the first items under the superintendent's report. So I think we can kind of speak to that as we move forward, because I think it's worthy of some discussion. And I have questions, and I think Ms. Muse had emailed me as well, and I appreciate her reaching out. And yeah, so we will handle that with that next item fully. On the, I will say for public comment, I was going to put it under announcements, but in the interest of time, while everyone is still awake with us, I'll announce that the Friends of Town Athletics fundraiser for the bricks to go in front of the new school. Please look to website, social media, Facebook, Twitter, all different accounts. Friends of Town Athletics brick fundraiser. We have until April 1st, or they have until April 1st to collect orders for those bricks. There's still some space to be filled, and those bricks are high quality pavers that will be in the center circle at the main entrance of the new high school. There's examples. I think they had an article in the Post as well. So again, April 1st is the deadline to get those bricks. And I don't know if Mr. Chonis, if you had more information on that, but did I cover everything on the bricks April 1st?
You know, Joel, I barely can hear you over here, so I'm not sure what that's all about, but I think you did a great job just now. I think it's a very worthwhile endeavor, and Friends of Town Athletics, if you said this is all the contributions, all the proceeds are going right to the school. So it's just a way to be remembered, and you don't build a school very often. And it's a time to put your family down as a Townie resident, as a Townie family. So I think it's a great idea, and I will say yes, I have bought my bricks.
Myself as well. So yeah, like I said, I want to say that then and there. So unless anyone else has any other public comments, we can move to the next agenda item, please.
Next agenda item is the superintendent's report, starting with testing by Dr. Ferrand.
I'm just going to say something before the testing, because this is hot off the press about an hour and a half to 2 hours ago. Last Thursday, I entertained a conversation with our mayor, Bob De Silva, in regards to the vaccination sites that municipalities were going to set up. He got in touch with Captain Potvian, and we had a meeting with the captain, Bob, and myself. Captain Potvian said that they were all set up at the senior center and were giving vaccines to community members at that time. He said that we could use the center and vaccinate our educational staff at the center. He was at a meeting at the Rhode Island Department of Health later this afternoon and called me from there. And he said, Kathy, we're all set up. They want it done by the 15th. And I said, oh, so you mean April 15th? He said, no, March 15th. March 15th. So I said, okay. So we are going to be setting up vaccination clinics for all of our educational staff on Friday, of this week, on Saturday and on Sunday. We have a team that's meeting tomorrow morning at 9:30. This is only for those employed by the East Providence School Department, which means it'll include teachers, paraprofessionals, administrative assistants, maintenance, custodians, kitchen help, bus drivers, bus monitors, and our pre-K naturally program, our teachers, etc. Now, what will happen with this is we talked, Captain Potvin and I asked if we could do the Friday for all of our educational staff in East Providence. And then Saturday and Sunday, they would do the private, the Catholic schools, all of the pre-K schools that reside in the city. I thought we could get our staff done in one day, because I believe between 30 and 40% of my staff already has gotten their first vaccination. He had to ask the Department of Health, he was getting online with them after our conversation, to ask them if that was acceptable. He felt that he didn't see any problems, so that's what we're gearing for. I will send out information right after I meet with my team tomorrow morning at 9:30. We will closely monitor that event. Our nurses will be involved as well as members of the East Providence Fire Department. There'll be stipulations that go along with this. We will have lists of our employees. We will also have a spreadsheet of who signed up as well. People there will match the spreadsheet to the employee. And of course, there'll be many of us there who know all of our employees. And so therefore, only East Providence Public School employees will be allowed in for their vaccination. They have about 680 vaccinations available at the present time. I will receive the portal and the link. I will send out the portal and the link right after my team meets at 9:30 and we decide exactly how we're going to do it in the time spans along with Captain Potvin, with the stipulation that they are not to send this link to anyone else, family, friends, etc. This is only for employees of the East Providence School Department. I'm going to ask you not to call me tomorrow. We will be sending out information. I wanted to inform the school committee this evening. We will send out information after our 9:30 evening about the process and procedures. Naturally, if someone couldn't make it on the Friday, it would be open to them on a Saturday or a Sunday. They would have to sign up for those appointments. But it will be the portal that I will get is a secure portal that I will send out to our employees. The fire department is taking care of the Catholic and private schools and the pre-K programs in the city. The Department of Health has given Captain Potvin a list of those institutions. I will be requesting that my salary be paid by the Department of Health for this coming year after what we've done with contract tracing and now vaccinations occurring at this point in time. But I think it's important for those teachers that maybe couldn't get online, had difficulty getting online to get that vaccination, that this is another way where we can ensure that our people have the vaccination available to them. We will also register them for their second vaccination at the time they get their first on Friday. So they will have two. It is it's not the Moderna, it's the Pfizer vaccine they'll be getting. So I did inform the mayor that I would be talking with you this evening, and then we'll put something out officially after the meeting at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Okay. All right.
So, I'm sorry, Dr. Fran, I know I'm realizing now, and I'll apologize to Ms. Buse. When I saw testing on the agenda, that's my fault for not verifying. I'm under the impression you're going to speak to COVID testing.
No,
Oh, you
no.
are
No.
speaking about NEAT. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So, all right. Because when Kathy jumped in to talk about vaccines, I'm thinking, all right, that must be the theme. And please don't tell
No.
me I misunderstood. Okay. All right. All right. I feel
Because
better. Okay.
It was because
Good.
that
All
came so late, Mr. Montero. I wanted to make sure I got it out there before we started on our rate. I didn't want to forget. Okay,
No,
now
yeah.
Dr.
Okay. No, I feel better though. Okay. All right.
Right, yeah.
All right.
Dr.
So
Ferrand,
I won't even comment on the fact that the state's like, 6 days late after half of our teachers scrambled around the state to
I
get their
know it.
first shot. But anyway,
Agreed. Agreed.
teachers and, all employees, right? But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dr. Farang, go ahead.
So Dr. Ferrand's going to talk a little bit about the testing because it's been very difficult to schedule, and she's been working with our elementary and our middle school principals all together and trying to brainstorm creative ways of giving these RICAS tests. So I'm going to let her explain what has been going on in the district. Sandy?
So I'm just going to share my screen. I'm also going to talk about a little bit about our current progress in the district. That was also requested. So testing and student progress will be combined.
That's right.
Thank you.
Oops. Let's see. Can you see?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So just an overview of the state assessment information. It is required by the U.S. Department of Education. Last year there was exemptions from testing. There was no standardized testing at the end of the year. Right now, they are saying that there are no exemptions for districts/states. We're being told all students, including distance learners, must take the test in person. So that would require us to schedule everyone to come in. They have extended the testing windows. So access testing, and I just want to report that access testing has been completed. All of our MLL students and UNISA and our MLL teachers worked really hard to make sure that that got done in a timely manner, and it was sent out the other day. So congratulations to all of them, and thank you for your hard work. The RICAS ELA window is now from March 29th to May 14th. The math window is April 12th to May 28th. SATs are April 13th through the 15th. The PSATs will be April 13th through May 5th. And so again, windows have been extended. And then NGSA, which is the science test, can be given anytime between April 26th and June 4th. Our plan right now is to test students that are in person on days that they're already in school. So we will split that up because sixth grade is in 4 days, but again, seventh and eighth grade are in the 2, and then they rotate on the Wednesdays. What we plan for distance learners is to bring them in on the Wednesdays. So it would be a full day of testing for ELA and a full day of testing for math. And those would both be scheduled on the Wednesday. And we're looking at one in April and one in May, middle school. Elementary principals are looking at, for distance learners, bringing in grades 3, 4, and 5 into school on a separate day. So on the day that elementary came in to test distance learners, we would bring in, in-person students would stay home and distance learners would be the only ones that came in for testing. The ICAS sessions, typically we break them up over a couple of days. In this case, we would do all of ELA in one day and then all of math in one day for elementary so that we did not have to bring students in for more than that one full day. Is also looking at using the same plan. So 10th grade would come in for the PSAT 10, and that would be the only grade that would come in at that time. There is a waiver right now that's being requested by RIDE for accountability relief so that the scores would not count towards our accountability scores. We get the data and we would use the data for planning, but it would not count against schools and their rating would not change. I don't know if you want to stop there before I go into student progress, or if you'd rather I go through the whole presentation and then we can address any questions.
Let's finish with the RICAS first.
Okay.
Plan. The
I'm gonna
RICAS
stop.
are mandatory federal tests that a district has to give. Some states have asked for a waiver. I believe there are two, Maryland and maybe Virginia have asked for waivers, but the feds are saying there are no waivers going to be given for the test itself. The waiver for accountability, RIDE, really expects that will be accepted, which means that they will not be published. The results will not be published. They will be given to the district, as Dr. Fran said, for planning purposes. So we are required to give it. We'll set up a schedule for giving the testing. But once again, I can't force parents to send their children in for testing, especially under this particular situation. So I want you to know that we are required to give it by federal law. If we were not to give it deliberately, our state aid could be affected by it. But you know, parents, we're going to give them the option. We want to certainly, there'll be some parents that are distance learning that may want their students to come in and take the test. And there are some parents that may not, as well as in-person parents may not want their children tested, but some may. So
Superintendent Crowley, just a question on that, just for clarity, and you know, and I'll inform the school committee. I did, you know, you and I spoke about a week ago, right? And so I did send an email to Tim Duffy, the Rhode Island Association of School Committees, and asked, you know, what, you know, basically what the landscape looked like, what options might exist and so forth. And, you know, basically, you know, said similar things to what Superintendent Crowley and Dr. Ferrand are saying tonight. I'm waiting on an invitation for school committee chair forum to discuss, you know, different districts' input to this. So my question to you is, so I understand that there's a waiver from an accountability standpoint. Is there, you know, and I know that, as you said, we really can't force, you know, kids into the building. So is our funding at all at risk if we have poor participation?
no.
And, you know, and I know oftentimes we don't want to kind of dance with that animal, but, you know, I'm adamantly against, you know, this, because I'm seeing, and this is just speaking me personally, right? I mean, our educators are struggling to maximize every single minute that they have in front of the teachers. So, you know, to say that, you know, we're going to mandate a test, but we're not really worried about the results, and you guys can use the data. Well, you know, I have confidence that our educators already know what the results are going to be. And in the end, all we did is lose more teaching and learning time. So I know I just lengthened my question, but the short answer is no, we won't risk any funding if we have poor participation.
No, we will not. We will not. This funding. We have to give the test. We have to make them available for people who want their children to take the test.
Okay.
But I think we have to be respectful, as in the case of the Common Core. Remember when they first came out, the opting out. I think we have to be respectful, especially this year of parents' choices and the mental health of our students and mental health of our teachers. And as Dr. Fran's going to show you, we have our own assessment that we run for our students, the iReady program, and she's going to show you that next. And so we have been keeping track. It doesn't take a genius to know that there has been learning loss across the state and every state in the United States. We know that, we recognize that, and we're already making plans for the summer and for next year to do various types of ramp up programs for our children.
Okay.
So our teachers, I feel, have a strong grasp of that, and they're fighting with it every day. We know there has been a learning loss. So I'm going to let Sandy continue with her iReady to show you what kind of assessing we have been doing of our students.
Okay. Well, so one more question. And to stop stealing Dr. Fran's thunder, don't tell us what's on the slide.
All right, I'm
I want
sorry.
to wait to, so, but my question is, what are we going to do? And again, you know, in normal times, I really, you know, wouldn't go down this road. But when you talk about social emotional, you know, concerns with students and the stress and so forth, for the students that are in the building, are we making accommodations so that if there is a parent that says, I do not want my child being tested? Are we making accommodations for spaces for those students?
We
And
will
again,
have,
normally, you know, I mean, we've been this, you know, down this road. This is, you know, 9 years in for me. And I understand the importance under normal circumstances for, you know, that feedback from testing. But considering everything that's going on, if we are not, are we accounting for that?
I believe the team is looking at that, absolutely. Yeah, we will.
Okay. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Dr. Fran, from there. And I'll mute the superintendent so that you can speak from here.
Well, my question was along the lines of Joel's. I mean, I guess my question results about the kids. I mean, if we're not going to use this data for going forth, or we're going to use it for us to look at, but we're not really assessing ourselves, but we're asking these students to take this test, what's that going to do to these kids who can't answer these questions? I mean, you're already looking at these kids, they're social emotional, and yet they're going to be taking a test that could be too hard for them and sitting there and taking it. I'm sorry. I think that I just, what are we doing to them? If I mean, I know what these iReady scores are going to look like. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a surprise. I just think that, I don't know. I think we got to put ourselves in a little bit of a pickle here.
No, you have to give them, it's a
Right, I
federal,
know we have to give them, but I'm gonna, then the scores are going to come home. I'm assuming we're not just gonna throw them out, right? They're gonna come home?
We'll still get the score reports, we always do, and we will use that data to plan because it will give us information on the standards that we really need
Yep.
to focus on. And so it's a useful piece of data for us to teach from and, you know, to see where our students really are. I think you'll find the iReady data interesting once we present.
Okay, so will the data from these tests be sent home to parents?
It will. They'll get the score reports that they always
Okay.
get. If the
Okay.
student takes the test, they'll get a score report.
Okay,
And we actually are going to send a survey to all our distance learning parents asking if they need transportation, lunches, because we typically do not do a full day when students are in school. And that's the other thing. If a student was to come into school and wasn't taking the test, it's a full day. In the past, it's been half days. So, you know, that's a long day of sitting, you know, just working independently. So, you know, coming into school may or may not be the best option in that case. But you know, we're still working on the schedule with principals for both in-person and distance learning. But we will accommodate whatever happens. We don't really know what's going to happen right now. So we are planning. All right, so I'll go back to sharing the data that we have from iReady. So there are 3 tiers in iReady. Green is considered on or above grade level, yellow is considered 1 grade level below, and red is considered 2 or more grade levels below. So as I show you the data, you'll understand what each of the color codes mean. This data is K-8 because that's where we give the assessment. As you can see, in 2019-20, we had 3,369 students take it. This year we had 3,088. So we did have less students take it this year than we did last year. Last year we had 19% of our students were at risk for being in tier 3, which means that they were 2 or more years below grade level. This year we're at 23. So it is a difference, but might not be as much as we thought it would be. Looking at that. So this data is mid-year data. So it was given last year in January, and it was given this year a little later because we started school later. So tier 2 students from last year to this year are almost identical. And then tier 1 students that are on grade level, are 52% last year and 49% this year. And again, this is the ELA scores that we have so far for iReady. This is broken down by grade level. So right now, in February when we gave it, for example, kindergarten students, 75% of our kindergarten students, and this includes any of the distance learners that took it, which we did, we administered these assessments to everyone. So 75% of our kindergarten students are on grade level and 25% are in tier 2, which there's no tier 3 for kindergarten because obviously this is their first year of school. If you look down the columns and you take a look at the different tiers at each of the grade levels, you'll see the variation by grade level. So growth from the beginning,
Moran,
yes.
yeah, question on, and
Yeah,
I don't think you have a slide on that, but I'm just curious where, you've got, this is the current year's testing. And then, right, so the previous year, I was just curious to see, like, if you looked at your percentages, like if you looked at a grade 5, which would now be grade 6, like how did those numbers, did you guys kind of peek at that, or did
we
you see
did.
anything?
So there is some variation, probably not as much as we thought there would be. And later on the slides, we have some reasons that we think that might be such.
Okay.
Definitely more of a variation in math than we saw in ELA.
Okay.
And I can
Dr.
actually,
Fran.
yes.
Just out of curiosity, do we know how many of those kindergartners were in our pre-K program that seem to be going through the roof here?
I don't. And
Okay.
So
I would like to look at that data.
yeah,
Because that number is huge. And my other question is, and I know that you guys probably know I'm going to ask this question. Do we know the percentage of students, if this is this year's, that were distance learning that took these tests?
yeah.
Do we have a separate slide?
We do not have a separate slide for that because we couldn't break it out by individual students like that, whether they did it at home. But if you remember, we had about 50% of our students on distance learning.
Okay, so could we
Elementary
compare?
level first semester.
So could we compare this year's to last year's data? Are
We
we
can.
looking at?
I'll
Okay.
send you last year's slide. I didn't know
Okay.
in depth you wanted me to get into it. I will say that one of our concerns, and we had a discussion with today about this. I think we thought that the data would not look like this, that it would be students, we'd see much larger gaps. One of the things we have to remember is that 50% of our students were at home taking the test. Some of the data that we got, we feel may not be as reliable as if they were in the classroom. So, for example, if your kindergartner is taking iReady for the first time and they're sitting down to do this assessment, probably parents sitting next to them. And so in some cases, we just question whether or not students may have had a little bit of assistance in taking the assessment.
Or like in middle school with a calculator for math.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Right.
The interesting thing is when you look at math, the higher grade level you get, you see a little bit more of a gap, especially at middle school. So it is, we are looking at it where it helps us look at the standards that we need to address, but because it wasn't administered in the classroom, the validity of that is a little more questionable.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so this is our growth from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year for students. So what we typically want to see here is we want to see in tier 3, if we look at tier 3 and tier 1, those are the two that we should focus on. So we want to see tier 3 decrease and we want to see tier 1 increase, because that more of our students are getting out of that 2 or more years below and moving into either 1 year below, or in the case of tier 1, they're on grade level. So we did see some nice growth, and we actually meet with iReady, the staff from iReady, So we have a meeting with them Friday, and they do a really nice job of breaking everything out for us. So I can also share that with you when we get it. That'll give us even deeper information. The other thing to mention about ELA is that it doesn't measure writing. And that's really a difficult thing right now to teach at the younger grades where, we have so many students that are at home, and even just to assess it at this point with students not there in front of you. So this is our math comparison looking at 2019, there's a typo, sorry, 2019, 20 to 2021. So at risk for tier 3, last year we had 15%. This year we have 22%. In that tier 2, 41% this year. And then 45% in the tier 1, meaning 45% were on grade level last year at this time, and only 36% right now are at grade level. And again, this is K-8 data, so we didn't break it down by every grade for you in this case. We kind of grouped the whole district together so you could see an overall picture. And on the next slide, you can see grade levels and where each grade level falls right now on the mid-year. Middle school gave the mid-year early January, and elementary gave the mid-year in February.
So this shows that the parents are better at ELA than they are now.
I was not going to say that, but and if you look at our 6, 7, and 8, as you move up, you're seeing some pretty significant gaps at the middle school level. Even, it's across the board, other than kindergarten. We're looking at a proficiency rate of, between 25 and 40 for math.
So how did that, in all seriousness though, right? It's data, so you're going to treat this as accurate with for the most part, because we kind of have to. So when I look at those students that are transitioning to the high school, where we've identified that, that's been a focus area of ours, right? Is the math. So, and maybe you'll get to that. So if so, then just kind of wave me on to, but I'm just curious to know what the plan is, or what the approach is, or what's being done to develop a plan to close that
Sure.
gap for that transition.
So I actually am going to speak to that in a couple of slides, and I'll address everything we're doing K-8. If you want to just maybe wait a couple of slides, is that, or do you want me to answer it now?
Well, do we get, that's K-8. Do we have, are you going to talk about what we're doing for the 9th, incoming 9th?
I will.
Okay. Yes, I can wait. Thank you.
All right. So again, those are our math scores. And again, we are concerned. We are trying to really focus on the standards. And the standards that we typically see students struggle with are the standards we're seeing students struggle with. So we really want to focus on that. So growth from beginning of the year to mid-year, I actually don't have 6, 7, and 8 broken out here, but we are seeing some decent growth from the beginning of the year to the mid-year here, ranging from 10% to 20%. So students are still moving from those different tiers to grade level.
And I wonder if that has to do with the fact that, last year, and not at all a knock on our district, but right, that distance learning model was that we were kind of crashed into, right? So you do your testing at the beginning of the year, but now with a little bit more structured instruction.
Right.
Would that kind of give us some of that growth into the mid-year from the beginning?
It would. So we did not do end of year testing last year. So we only have beginning and middle from last year. This year we will do beginning, middle, and end of year testing. like you said, last year we were kind of thrown into that. We did not obviously expect to be out the whole end of the year. I mean, we thought we were leaving and coming back in 2 weeks, and that didn't happen. So we were really trying to make it work on the fly. And our teachers worked hard, and we definitely did the best we could. Now students are attending a regular day of school at all levels. Are in meets all day. They're attending classes. Most of our classrooms right now are doing an in-person and online version at the same time. So everybody is getting that same material. And we are much more structured this year. So it was kind of a surprise to us that there wasn't as much variation in the scores from last year to this year as we thought they would be. We are talking a lot about learning loss, but again, this is one snapshot in time. This is one test, one piece of data, and we use a variety of data to look at where our students are. So this will help us really focus on those standards that we know we need to work on. But again, it's only one piece, just like RICAS. All of those are just one piece, and we put all those pieces together to make the puzzle and to design our instruction. We definitely saw a higher need for gap closure in math. I mentioned earlier, writing is not measured. We are questioning the validity of some of these scores, not knowing, like Ms. Beauchamp said, whether it's students using a calculator when they're not supposed to, or whether it's getting assistance from, siblings or other people. So again, we're looking at the scores and we're using them to design instruction, but we understand that they may not be as accurate as they would be if students were in person. What we are seeing, and this is a big concern, is that there is a high failure rate at the middle and high school. And for the most part, we're seeing it with distance learners. So we are struggling with student engagement in many places. The teachers and the administrators are really working hard every day to call parents, to try and get students that have become disengaged back on track. I can tell you the high school right now is doing boot camps to try and work with students to make up classes that they're failing. The middle school, they're offering after school tutoring. Teachers are reaching out, teams are reaching out to students. So we continue every day to try and re-engage students that have become disengaged and to get students caught up that are struggling. And it is a challenge. And it's not easy for students that are not in school right now. So again, we're continuing to put supports in place for students to be successful. We are currently in the process of planning summer programs K-12. So I can tell you, we would like to look at, right now, K-8, we're looking at full day summer programs, targeting the students that we bring in for summer programs. So looking at the learning gaps, looking at socioeconomic status, considering a variety of factors and targeting those students that have those big gaps. We want to do a focus on ELA and math with enrichment. So we know we can't bring students in for a full day and just do math and ELA all day. So we want to look at things like, maybe it's culinary if that's of interest to you. So cooking, we're going to use a lot of math when we do cooking. So we may offer afternoon cooking sessions in those enrichment programs. Maybe it's robotics. We have met with the Boys and Girls Club. They do some enrichment activities. So we've had some preliminary discussions with them. We're looking for community partners to help us support those summer programs. And the high school is also looking at summer planning right now. And it's both sides. So, we have students that are going, we have students that are coming into honors programs that are going to need some additional instruction because, especially we've focused at middle school, we've been talking about the 7th grade too, because that 7th grade curriculum is really, really meaty. And we aren't going to probably get through everything we need to with the focus that we need to. So, we've talked about also offering that type of enrichment over the summer. We're just starting these discussions and the planning of this. we're working with MLL, we'll be working with, special education has ESY, but, we're really going to bring everyone to the table, including the community partners, to design some kind of program, K to 12, that will help to close these gaps and offer students what they need. And we recognize we're going to be dealing with this in September. And we're going to be dealing, I think, with a lot of social emotional learning issues. We have students that haven't been in school since last March. And in September, we hope we're all back in person, and that is going to be a difficult transition for some people. So we recognize all of the issues that are in front of us. And I will say, we meet with the principals and their planning. We met with the middle school leadership teams to discuss, like, how do we support students right now? What else can we do to help them, close these gaps, and what can we look at doing for the summer to help with that? So are there any questions I can answer, or?
Any questions of the committee? No, not at this time.
I just want to say something.
Yeah, please.
That I really liked the presentation, especially on how the administration is going to be looking to work with the community as a whole to see what summer programs are going to be available for K through 12. So that's especially something that I am very happy to hear. Thank you.
So if I could put in a plug for anyone out there that has special talents or would like to work with us to offer different things, definitely are looking for those types of partners. We want to engage students. We want to give them opportunities. We think we're going to have a significant amount of funding to make this happen. So we really want to give them enrichment opportunities that bring academics in, but also engage them in the things that they like to do. And we're hoping maybe to be able to do some field trips. I'm a huge advocate for field trips because we do have a lot of students that never leave the city. Have never been to the zoo, and to give them that opportunity, it's just great for them to be able to see those things and experience that, and give them that background knowledge that they don't necessarily have.
I appreciate it, and like I said, I'm curious, obviously concerned, that transition from middle to high school, and having a high schooler that chose distance learning. I can appreciate the challenges. Teenagers that are kind of self-monitoring, and it's an added responsibility to stay engaged, and it's hard enough.
It's hard,
right? I mean,
just to update you on the numbers too, as of this morning, we had 58% at the high school that were distance learners, and we had 42% in person. The middle school is pretty much split 50-50 as far as distance learners and in person, and elementary is 41% distance and 59% in person. So we definitely have seen, originally, like even with secondary, a lot of students had started the year and then left. So we have seen an increase in the number of students that have come back into the classroom, and we continue to accept. It's much easier for us to bring a secondary student back, grades 6 through 12, because we still have room in the classrooms. I will say that with the CDC guidelines that we're working under, most of our elementary classrooms at this point are full. So we're in some cases unable to bring a student back in at this point at the elementary level because we just don't have the seats. So we still encourage, if there's students in secondary that want to come back, we still are encouraging them to. And I know teachers are calling and asking students, please come back,
So I guess I don't know if this is the time to bring this up or not to bring this up. And after you just said that, Dr. Fran, I don't know, but I mean, obviously we're all aware what the Cranston School Committee has asked of their school department as of last week. We're all aware of what Massachusetts is doing as of April. Are we aware of whether or not RIDE is planning on asking our schools to do the same.
So I have not heard that. I mean, we have had our elementary in 5 days a week since day one. And
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of districts did that. So I think that's a huge benefit because our students have been in front of us all that time.
Yeah.
I think we would very much struggle. I mean, we would still allow people choice, I believe at this point. I don't think that under the guidelines, we could bring everyone back. I think we have done more than a lot of districts, and some districts didn't bring students back for months.
Correct.
And some students, even elementary in some cases, weren't back the full 5 days.
I think we have gone way above and beyond. I read the summary that you have in front of us, and my heart aches for these students who may or may not. My daughter has been in from day one, and I'm still dealing with the repercussions of her social emotional issues. And I thank God every day that she's in school. I thank God every day that she has an extracurricular activity that she's part of that keeps her active. But I'm still dealing with that myself. So I just wonder, obviously Massachusetts is setting a date. They're setting a date saying everyone goes back. So I didn't know if anybody knew if Rhode Island was headed in that direction, and we're just going to be one day, told, just like the vaccines, one day we're all told, okay, everyone gets vaccinated. I didn't know if anybody knew a heads up on this.
No, and we would definitely struggle if they said that, that we had to do that right away, if we would have maintained the current mitigation factors that we have.
Right.
And I believe they're lessening them. Is that right? Massachusetts is lessening the seating situation, I believe.
To 3 feet, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's what yeah.
Massachusetts is also opening more than Rhode Island is doing this negotiating. So at this point, I have no indication that that's going to happen in Rhode Island at this point in time.
Today, as of today. At 7:27.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think like Dr. Ferrand said with that, if RIDE were to, in my opinion, if RIDE were to change their position and want to push something for whatever reason in the last few months where we've given the options, one, right, so we've got the Department of Health, CDC, they've got to change their guidelines so that we're in compliance. But I think it's important for that social emotional piece that we maintain that choice option, because, as you said, Jessica, there are students that absolutely, need to be or want to be back in the building, but then there are others that, maybe just aren't ready and to make that transition. And that's a piece, as long as we can maintain that flexibility. Again, sadly, at this point, I think our best bet lies on the lack of urgency that the state makes any changes. So by the time they come around to doing anything, we'll be in July. But I do want to thank, going back to the testing, I was listening to you talk about all the planning, and it was like a flashback to, right, all of the planning that everyone had to do just to open the buildings. And I really appreciate, what everybody's doing. And I hope it's clear, and I appreciate that the answers to the questions. I hope it's clear to the public that is interested, the member of the public that spoke, that submitted that letter, that there are options. We have our obligations that we are asking for, seeking ways to, be excused from. But at least we know that, we will accommodate, the decisions coming from home. So I appreciate that.
Okay. All right, the next under my report is districts. Are we done?
Yeah, no, I was just thanking Dr. Fran.
All right. Yep. Thank you, Sandy. District School Improvement Team report. The District School Improvement Team meets the last Friday of every month. And at the last meeting, Rhode Island Department of Education asked if they could come to one of our district, to the district sit team meeting. Because East Providence with their sit teams had been ahead of the game, so to speak, in the operation of our school improvement teams. And Jessica had talked about the school improvement teams, was very interested in them, and I asked her if she would like to be an observer at that meeting. Members of RIDE want to alter some of the, I don't want to say mandates, but some of the regulations within the document governing school improvement teams and their operations. And they had procured this new document, and they asked for feedback from our school improvement team. And our members gave them plenty of feedback. Wouldn't you say, Jessica? They really did. They participated, and then they gave them a link in which they can fill out forms if they felt they had anything more to say. They've reached out to me again just today to ask if I would disseminate that, that new document to other sit teams in the district, which I will do, for their feedback to this document that they will present to the Board of Education. So I just want you to know that our sit teams are operating extremely well, and they're not afraid to speak their mind in the school improvement teams that are operating in our district. And so I want to thank my members of my school improvement team for their participation in that exercise, which was the last Friday in February. So thank them all. Jessica, did you want to add anything? You were an observer there.
No, I thought the document was very well written. It was very easy to follow. I thought that the questions were great. It does not say school committee members cannot be on it. I looked. So just heads up, everybody, because I'm coming. It was good. I mean, it really was. It was very informative. I definitely think that it gave a lot of information. It kind of gave what everybody's job was, and it gave different information. I think it was good. I think it's going to help a lot of school districts that are not where we are. I think for us, it was just reiterating what we already knew. But for the other districts, I think, yes, it was good.
So the next thing is our moving plan. We have begun to develop a moving plan for the high school. We have been in and out of closets and spaces and nooks and crannies. And we have a team. Diana Clockett is in that team, Sandy Ferran, Tony Viola, Cheryl Mamoni, Craig Enos. All together, we are operating on developing a very systemized plan for moving. It is a huge school that we're moving from, even huger building that we are moving into. It is complicated by the fact that we have to do two moves, from the high school to a storage area for the summer months, and then from that area, which we anticipate now will be the Career and Technical Center, into the new high school, because they're going to start demolition almost a week after, if not the day after we leave that high school. So, so as I said, we are planning. The teachers, we have met with the entire staff, and then members of the team met with individual departments to go over the moving plans and to go over what was going to be moved and what wasn't going to be moved. So as I said, we're setting up a systemized 4 boxes right now, except in certain areas that will be moved over to the new building. Their first move will be to take out all personal belongings by the April vacation, whether it be rocking chairs, some type of knickknacks, tables, bookcases, whatever belongs to them personally. That is the first stage in the moving process. So I think that'll move along nice and smoothly. Does anyone have any questions relating to that? Okay. The next is the playgrounds, Jessica, and you mentioned that last time, and Sandy had mentioned that they were already going, elementary principals had already wanted, and the playgrounds are open, aren't they, Sandy, right now? Or some of them are, because I saw the kids out there.
Yeah, so we're opening, so right after the last school committee meeting, we put it on our elementary principals agenda. And we came up with a plan for all of the elementary schools to open the playgrounds beginning the first day of spring, March 22nd. Everyone has created a schedule so that we will rotate through grades. So we still continue to keep our pods together, but everybody gets a chance to play on the playground over the week. So we'll sanitize hands like we have been, come back into the school, but we'll be opening all of them up on the 22nd.
I couldn't be happier.
The elementary principals did an amazing job, like creating schedules. They worked so well together. So they did it all, and they'll be up and running.
I thank the principals so much. I read all their newsletters, so I knew that that was the date. So I thank you all for this, and I'm going to just speak for the children. They thank you all, and I will be there on the 22nd. I will go to as many, from a distance. Thank you.
Don't hog the playground.
I'm not.
You're not in a pod. You can't.
I'm not in a
playground
pod,
equipment.
and I'm not. But I just texted Joel. I do have to go. Joel knows how I feel about the rest of this stuff. I already spoke to him, but I do have somewhere to be that needs my attention at this moment. But thank you guys. I just wanted to get through all that. So and I already watched the building committee meeting today, so I know what's about to happen. So thank you guys. Okay. I will watch it though. Thank you.
The next thing on the next month's agenda is going to report on the PSATs by the high school administration, and also the new math curriculum will be before you at the next meeting as well. That's it for tonight.
Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Next item is the Director of Human Resources report by Cheryl Mamone.
Good evening. I have one thing to report this evening, which is a retirement. Ellen Tilley, a paraprofessional at East Providence High School, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. Ellen Tilley is retiring from the East Providence School District at the end of 2021 school year. At that time, Ellen will have worked for the school department for a total of 27.5 years. Ellen was hired in October of 1993 as a supervisory aide at the Oldham Elementary School. In 1999, she became a paraprofessional for the Waddington Elementary School. Since that time, Ellen has worked at it as a paraprofessional not only at the elementary school, but also at the middle and high school level. She will be retiring from her current position at the East Providence High School at the end of the school year, and I would like to wish her a long, healthy, and happy retirement.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to accept that retirement?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Chonis. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Brandel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you again.
Motion carries, yes, and thank you very, very much. Did we not, I thought I saw an updated sheet that had appointments, no? I thought we had, there were no custodial appointments? I could be.
Cheryl, is there any custodial appointments?
No, there were no additional appointments.
Okay. All right, thank you. My apologies. Next item, please.
The next item is the Director of Finance report by Craig Enos.
Good evening, everyone. Before you, you have the monthly finance report. It was quite honestly a very quiet month. Just the usual monthly expenditures that we have. We remain on target and under budget for our expenses for this month. The only slight change from last month on the bottom of page 2, if you look at the end of fiscal year 2020 year to date, There's been a slight increase to our final number for fiscal year 20 due to the fact that more purchase orders have been closed out. At this particular point in time, I think really that number there is probably going to be it. I don't think there's going to be too many more, if any, expenses that will be coming in for fiscal year 2020. And that's all I have to report.
And what is that number, Mr. Enos? Is that number?
Superintendent, so that number on bottom page 2 is $1,379,155.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The next item is the policy committee report.
Jessica left. Cheryl, are you going to give the policy committee report?
Ms. Boshane asked me to report on the policy this evening. She thought that she might have some issues with her internet connection today. So you have two policies before you. We made a slight change for the second read on the Chromebook agreement. It was brought to our attention that our district, when parents do not want their students photographed, they actually sign something to opt out. We do not receive a signature from every single parent when they're okay with it. So it's an easier, shorter list to maintain. I did make that change for everyone's consideration this evening. The other policy was the restraint intervention, crisis intervention policy. There really isn't any changes. There was a question about the time of notification to parents. We checked with our legal staff pertaining to that. They advised us, even if we exceed that timeline, to use the general standard of at least by 48 hours, just so that we don't put ourselves into a bind on occasions. But in our district, we're known to exceed that. Parents are usually called when something happens. So that's all I have on the policies this evening. Oh,
Through the
we
chair.
also, at our next policy meeting on Friday, we're planning a policy meeting. We're waiting for the revision on the building use policy. We got some good information from Greg Maury, who went out to some of the other districts for us. Our main concern with that policy was taking a look at the costs of renting auditoriums, fields, and so forth. We have an anticipation that our district will be sought after, especially the high school. So Lori Miller, who is working on that now, indicated that she thought our policy was really good and she's working on the cost involved. And we will be discussing that on Friday and bringing that to you at the April meeting.
Thank you.
Through the
Thank you.
chair. I have a question for Cheryl. Based on a statement or a question that Jessica had at our last meeting, and I thought she said she was going to contact our attorney about if a staff member did not get a vaccination, what is our liability at that point? I know we have policies about our students, or we have a framework for our students to get vaccinations. I just think this is something that it's important to look at going forward.
Yeah,
And I'm just wondering if we have a question, or we can wait till Jessica comes back the next time, but I don't know if anyone else remembers that question. It was, what do we do in the event that a staff member does not choose to get a vaccination?
And that was because there was a policy that was presented at one point regarding the vaccinations, and almost a mandate of sorts that was considered it, and it was brought back to legal, and superintendent, correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but when I read Mr. Scungio's response to that as well. I think there was an agreement that because, well, for several reasons, but one being that it's an emergency approval of the vaccine. It's not something that we can necessarily mandate. It's an offering, it's a suggestion, but since it's not required, our liability to someone that is not vaccinated, we have no liability there because it is not a mandated vaccination.
Correct. We
Okay.
mentioned that at the last meeting, that we strongly recommend in the, what I put out to the faculty was it's strongly recommended that you do receive the vaccinations, but I can't mandate they do it. And we asked Ben Scungio that, and the report was that that's their own responsibility. We are not liable for them in any way, shape, or form. That's their responsibility. We can't force them to have the vaccinations.
And I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I think that other piece is, if there was ever a statement or a claim from the Department of Health or that the vaccines actually eliminated the transfer risk, then maybe you could see, where we would be in a position to require it. But right now, the vaccines, the statements are that it doesn't necessarily, it might have a reduction of transfer risk. So, theoretically, someone who's been vaccinated is just as contagious, so to speak.
Right.
As
Sarah is collecting from our staff vaccination, and she's putting them in their health file, so we will have a record of that in case. And Mr. Montero, you were right. There are appointments, but they're not really appointments. That should have been under consent agenda. This was under after my policy. So you have an appointments of custodians, and you might have it in your packet. You're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
that's what it was. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we
I'm
no longer.
sorry if I misrepresented that. I thought you asked if there was a change, an updated change. I just assumed that you already had those.
This was not put in the communication, so that's the appointments of the custodians that took place, and also of the 2 shout co-advisors at the high school.
Right. So,
That doesn't need a vote, though.
No, I know, but just as a communication, I think it's worth if it's. I believe everyone received that in the packet.
Yeah.
So if so, I think I'd like to, if you could read that through just as an announcement,
Yeah.
of the communication from that consent agenda.
Absolutely.
And we'll without any opposition, we'll hold the vote to accept that consent agenda after you read that.
All right. Oriana Rebello, custodian nights at East Providence High School, effective 2/11/2021. Gary Silva, custodian nights, Waddington, effective 2/11/2021. Chelsea Anderson, shout co-advisor, effective 3/8/2021. And Faith Jean, shout co-advisor, 3/8/2021.
Thank you. And is there any objection to that being included in the already approved consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, so that stays, and it's great to hear the Shout program has some co-advisors. We heard about the Shout, and welcome to those folks that have joined the team. And it's different, right? We're used to seeing that and voting to accept the appointment. So a little different process, but thank you for catching that.
And Dr. Bowler and I were so impressed with the students that took part of the interview process. They were so professional. They took it so seriously, and we really had some great candidates.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Any other questions, comments with regards to the policy committee report?
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, so no, that's a great question, because again, I think that'll keep coming up, Mr. Jonas, I do. Okay, we will move on to next item, please.
Next item is the building committee report by Joel Montero with the building project update.
All right, and as I typically do, I will do an overview of that, our owner's project report. If Ben, if you can kind of share that up on the screen and
Yep, one moment.
roll slowly on cue. We'll see
Sure.
just how well we
Let's see.
work together. All right, so this is from last night's building committee meeting. Again, site phasing, access roads. So there's been some changes to the site. If anybody that comes through, you can no longer drive down between the tennis courts and the CTC building. That's all been torn up, that road and the front grass section. So we just continue to move along. The trailers for the construction trailers are moved to the teachers CTC lot for now for this phase. Commissioning update, building envelope, field site visits. Again, February, 4 in February. MEP field site visits, we had 1 in February. So again, these just continue to go through. Item 3, the FF&E, so furniture, fixtures, and equipment and technology. So we issued an RFP for the furniture for the new school and pieces of technology. That went out. We will award to the vendors in the March, April timeframe. Some of them are coming in, and I can't remember, Craig, what the deadline is for some of those. I know they have different deadlines.
Sure. We have 2 pieces. So there are pieces of furniture that we are accessing state bid lists on, Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Those bids are due in on the 11th. And then the rest of the furniture RFP is due in on Friday, March 19th. And the technology and the other equipment will be going out probably within the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you. And then again, with the goal is to start installing some of the stuff in the July and August timeframe, and coordinate that with, as Superintendent mentioned, the moving process just with the existing stuff in the current school. There'll be kind of a holding place, a storage place for some of those items. No furniture is coming over, from the old into the new. So we're talking about, essential pieces or pieces of technology or equipment from CTC or what have you that is fairly new and would just not be reasonable to discard. So milestones again, so construction 59 or 58, let's call it 59% complete. Mr. Vinatero on our building committee last night asked a great question. You're asking what will that percentage look like at the time that our students occupy the new high school? What is the target for the public to understand? And the rough number would be right around 80% of that, project completion would mean that the school building and the areas in the back are complete and ready to use. And the remainder of that is primarily a demolition of the old building and completion of the front of the campus. Window glazing, which is glass installation, is ongoing. Members here of the school committee, we did a walkthrough today. There's a lot of glass. It's really cool to see the glass on the outside of the walking track, and then also interior glass is going in. Finishes, cabinetry, a lot of that millwork is all ongoing. Again, just like everything else, moving from the south 4th floor and down and north through the building as the trades make their way through. The district rooftop units start up in April. District kitchen, walk-in coolers come in this month. Seating in May in the new auditorium. That's really cool to see that coming together. And then we'll roll through this. Our contingency, owner contingency, we still maintain 77, almost 78% of our contingency dollars. And construction contingency, again, 82%. And then our allowance is 77%. I'm sorry, 79, almost 80% remaining. And then that COVID allowance, which is all part of the total dollars of the project. Billed again, so we're still holding on to 77% of that. So we can scroll through, that's pie chart So let's hit some photos. Here's the front of the building. You can see the glass is really kind of, popping out, and the siding is in most of the areas, except for some of the access areas that they leave open to move supplies in and out. Those are coming in play, and some of the lower area doors. The rear, you have to go back. So this is, again, standing at probably about the maybe 10-yard line or so, looking at the back of the school. And if you can zoom in a little bit, Ben, you can see bleacher framing starting to come into play. See, I tricked you by asking you to mess with something. Okay, so yeah, so you can see kind of right center, you've got bleacher framing, and today there's actually seating that's come into play there. All right, and then again, both ends. So on the left, the south elevation, that would be your auditorium side, and then that north elevation, you can see the glass. That's on the walking track that is an eighth of a mile surrounding the inside gymnasium. The halftime building, different parts of it, you can see the siding. It matches high school. That's where your concessions and bathrooms are, and it sits at the north end zone. And you can see we have real goalposts, more of the H style 1930 goalposts that I think we had. And you can get a good shot on the left there. You can see that the field layout is coming in play, and sometime in, I think in April or so, we'll start to see the turf process kick in, and that's a few weeks to take over. Student comments to the left, again, it's kind of a storage space there, but you can see even with the lights that are in the ceiling, most of that lighting is coming from the outside, and you can get a glimpse of it with that other shot of the windows. Just so much natural light coming into this common space. Roll up, and again, the casework you can see in the classrooms. This is your science classroom. We have, I think, technically 11 science classrooms, and we have 3 of casework. There'll be what we, it's kind of like a slate style finish countertop, and matching tables. The tables will be of a similar finish. So it'll be real science labs. And then this prep room, and these pictures don't do it justice. This is a long room in between 2 science rooms. So it's a nice, fully cased out room to store everything that they need to deliver their curriculums. Roll up a little bit more. See the tile work in the bathrooms. We actually were in there some toilets and sinks that are in some of the bathrooms. And the picture on the right is from this is from the 4th floor, looking down into the library media center. And again, this is just budget, basically we continue to trend in good shape, under budget. We're carefully watching our contingencies and our allowances, and yeah, we'll keep your progress. I want to speak to a couple things, and you can flash out of that, Ben. Thank you. A couple things that were brought up at the meeting. I'll try to go in order, touching back to what Superintendent Crowley talked about, this move, and then it just kind of made me think of conversations in the public. People are asking about access to the old building. Will there be walkthroughs and so forth? And then let me touch on that. So we are constantly talking about that. Ideally, absent COVID, we would actually look at doing, maybe a fundraiser, right, where we could bring people in and, whatever components were, keepsakes that people might want. And so, enter COVID. So the timeline that superintendent mentioned with the turning over of the building, we're kind of in that crunch in between the COVID relaxation and the turning over of the building. We are basically looking at maybe about a week or so in between the time that we empty the school to when Gilbane takes ownership of the building, so that they can begin abatement and demolition. So in that window, depending on COVID situations, can we do something? We don't know. I don't want to say that we've decided that we can, but I just want to assure everyone that it's something that we wanted to do from day one. And, the factors that I mentioned and others will determine whether or not we can safely do something. So that's what the old school, it's not off the table. We're just trying to be creative and think on our feet and see if we can pull something together. The other piece is we talk about, again, it's a short time crunch to when we get occupancy to beginning of school. We want to get familiarity with our staff in the building, folks that are going to need to understand this building before the students come in. So just know, and I'm speaking to, some of those educators or people in the public that are asking, we will work with Gilbane and Peregrine to schedule those building employee visits. The buildings are not, the employees are not going to walk into the building on the same day as the students, right? And so again, we are planning that out and being very conscious of how we do that safely. And I've been on other projects where it's been managed, and we will do the same here. So folks will know what's going on, and they'll be able to help the students coming in. And again, COVID and well, hopefully by then, knock on wood, we're not dealing with the COVID piece by then, but we'll work it out on a tight schedule. And the last thing that I will mention before I take any questions, if there are any, is we mentioned last night at the school committee meeting, at the building committee meeting, that we will have options for a new clock tower from the architect, both versions of a clock tower and location on the new campus. So leading up to this, what we're looking at is the current clock tower. Obviously, it's not original. For those that don't know, it was rebuilt in 1999. Obviously, it doesn't match the new building. We're giving our students a new campus. So there was talk of refacing the existing one so that aesthetically it matched. Well, structurally, there's no plans available. So we actually don't know structurally what it can handle. So it would have to basically be run through several different architectural tests that are beyond, outside of my wheelhouse to determine whether or not it could do that. If it could, we are also currently, the plan includes spending close to $400,000 to build a retaining wall around the old clock tower to keep it. So we are going to look at different options to provide the community with still the emblem of that clock tower that we know sits in so many of our photos and images and logos, but that will resemble the new school and the package that we're giving to our students and community. So that's what I have for you. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer, or at least try to.
I have a comment more than a question, Chairman Montero. I thought it was a great walkthrough today. Peregrine did a great job, and we all got a very good view on a nice sunny afternoon of that tremendous building. The phrase that keeps on popping in my mind is something you referred to, Joel, and that's time management. The closer we get, the words time management just mean more and more for everybody involved here in the school district. Eric did put my mind at ease about a few things, and because he's been through this quite a bit before, he's an expert at it, that our commissioning agent, Stephen Turner, Inc., will be on the job, although we haven't seen him much, I guess, lately. His job kicks in very soon, and he will be making sure there are real tests, realistic testing of all the operating units in the building. And he will be in place probably probably into 2022. So that he's going to be around till 2022. Members of Peregrine will be around till 2022. So those things make me feel a little bit better about the big picture, because they will ensure, and that's their job. They will ensure that all of our systems are functioning properly. Unfortunately, we have in the past in East Providence, we've suffered some less than stellar performances in buildings. So I feel very good that Stephen Turner, who has an excellent reputation, will be our commissioning agent, and that the folks from Peregrine will be around and advising us. So yes, I had a lot of my questions answered, Joel. It was a great walkthrough, and looking forward to the next time that we go through again. Thank you.
Sure. No, thank you. And just to one clarity, on Mr. Turner's behalf, he's been around. It's just the frequency of his
Right.
of his commission. Yeah, but you're right. And Eric, I mean, listen, I couldn't be happier with the with the professionals that we contracted for this job. Again, AI3, Peregrine, and Gilbane, but Eric and the Peregrine team, and you said it, so well, Charlie. I mean, the amount of information, the detailed level of information that is readily available, and they're forthcoming in a timely manner. I mean, I don't wait. Sometimes I don't wait 5 minutes before I get a response to a question from our OPM, and it's very comforting. And so again, it's we're in good hands, and it's going to be tough. And to your point, with that time crunch, you said it right. Their expertise, their experience in understanding what the next steps are with regards to working in an educational environment. It's going to be critical for us, and and that's why I wanted to reassure everyone that these conversations are happening weekly, if not daily sometimes, with how what the next step is and what the options are going to be. So we're looking for smooth, we're looking for comfort. So
What I find there too, just to say this for Eric, totally transparent. You can ask him anything,
oh yeah,
and you'll get the answer.
yeah.
So I love the transparency.
Yes.
Thank you.
And actually, as a follow-up, right, and I told you, so I'll hand it to you.
Right.
The MEP commissioning kind of list of all the different checks. I mean, so yeah, they're to the detail, whatever we need. So very pleased. Any other questions, comments? And thank you. I know the three of you were able to go through that building today. So it's great to have your input, and to be able to answer questions, as they'll only increase from your constituents. So nothing else, and we'll move on to the next item, please.
The next item is discussion items, starting with donation of retired Chromebooks to the EP community by Mr. Russell.
Good evening. So I was approached by David Backrack, who is the Community Development Director for the City of East Providence. And he had asked what we were going to be doing with our old Chromebooks that we're retiring from the district. If anyone's not aware, the new Chromebooks are on their way into the district. That'll be replacing all of our legacy Chromebooks. Those legacy Chromebooks are at the end of their usable support with Google. So they have almost no value to us, and that the general plan, the part of our procurement policy is that we get quotes for e-waste, e-recycle for any of that equipment after you have approved it for decommission from the district, which we had on the docket last month. So I said to him that I thought it would be that would be your decision as to whether you would want to go the route of e-recycling or to donate it to the residents of East Providence to help cut down on the digital divide. So this would go to families who may not have a computer or don't have enough devices that they could use. They would be cleared of all of our data, and it would be basically be the same type of thing you'd pick up at the store, just have to have a Google account to log into it. And we only so far we've only gotten one vendor to respond back. This is, with this quantity, we're talking about 3,000 or 4,000 Chromebooks. It's a truckload worth of equipment. For them, it's a lot. The cost of picking up the equipment, shipping it to their facility, clearing it of all the data is high, and that the value of the device is very low. So far we've only gotten one quote, and it's about $5 a device. So that's what we would be trading out.
So essentially, by donating this to Mr. Bacharach and his program, we'd be making a $15,000 donation to the city of East Providence, which is, I think, a worthy cause. So, any other
I
questions?
agree. Yeah, this resident also reached out to me. He told me about it, and I'm fully supportive of it as well. I think it has the potential to help a lot of residents that need it most. And I think during a pandemic and when technology is something that everyone needs, this is a great donation to make to the community, because it's almost impossible to get by without technology this day and age.
Great. Thank you, Ben.
No problem.
Next discussion item. We have amendment to transportation services agreement. Ms. Clarkin.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. So last month, I requested that you consider transferring the special ed routes that are presently serviced by statewide over to Ocean State Transit. You had requested an amendment be drafted, which Mr. Scungio did, and you have that in your packets before you. So at this point in time, I was wondering if there are any questions, and hopefully we can go ahead with the approval of that.
Any questions from the committee? And thank you for hearing the concerns and working with Mr. Scungio on that.
Anytime.
Okay. Next is our reduction of state services to other school districts by Mr. Chonis.
Yeah, I asked for that to be put on there because it's more of a question than anything else. I've read that the state is cutting back here and there, and it's probably more for the superintendent and the directors. I know Mr. Enos has his ear to the ground when it comes to money. Although we do not go to this Rhode Island College for visual assistance, the state has cut back on its support in visual at Rhode Island College. I'm just wondering if there are other programs out there that we know of, or that potentially could be cut back in East Providence. As I said, it's more of a question than anything else. And I know the budget has not come out yet from the General Assembly, but I'm just trying to look forward to see if there's any potential storm coming.
Mr. Chonis, I'll answer that. That agreement with Rhode Island Department of Education and the Sherlock Center, which is located at Rhode Island College, is a contractual agreement between RIDE and this particular center to provide services. One of the services they provide is visually impaired. They did lay off 14 teachers, I believe it was. One of my close friends daughter is one of those teachers that were laid off. We don't service with the Sherlock Center. We use the Perkins Center for our visually impaired. Some districts have their own visually impaired teachers on staff, some of the larger districts, and other districts use Perkins. I don't know how many of the districts use that. So it's that particular thing is a little bit political, to be honest with you. I know Sherlock's costs are high. And I understand there could be a monetary issue with it, but I don't know that for fact because we're not serviced by them. But any other areas at this point in time, I have not heard of any other areas that are provided to districts that are receiving cutbacks at this time. Now, the budget hasn't been submitted yet to the General Assembly, but I think with the stimulus package that the state should be okay at this point in time. So as soon as anything happened to that nature, I would let you know, but the Sherlock Center does not affect me at all. It doesn't affect us at all. Leslie and I had a conversation about that. And you've had Perkins for about 8 or 9 years now for our visually impaired students. So we've gone through them and have been very satisfied with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next discussion item is RFP for demolition removal of the paint booth. Mr.
Right.
Enos.
Yes, thank you. As we prepare to move the Career and Technical Center over into the new high school, at one time, the automotive program at the Career and Technical Center was doing auto body work. And there is a paint booth that was purchased with Perkins funds many, many years ago. They have stopped doing auto body work. And so we need to remove that paint booth out. We have outreached to Davies Vocational to see if they wanted the paint booth, as we are required to do because it was purchased with federal funds. And Davies Vocational said no, thank you, because they have a private sponsor for their paint booth whose name is on their paint booth. So they did not want it. New England Tech has also come to take a look at it, and due to the size of it, they said no, thank you. And really the issue too is once you start to take that paint booth apart, once that seal is broken, the warranty for that device is gone. So I'm just asking you tonight to vote we can go out for an RFP to remove and demolish the paint booth that's in the Career and Technical Center. Thank you.
We also asked our Tony, our custodians to look at it, but it's a very complex piece of machinery underground, the mechanical and the electrical, and some very, very heavy pieces. So we'd have to have it removed professionally. And it takes up a great deal of space there in that room. We had talked about it last year, removing it, getting a price on it. And actually, we thought that Benegro was going to take it from us, but because of the breaking of the seal and it not being hermetically tight, they didn't even want it. So that was our last ditch effort to get it out of there for free. So we
I
asked.
don't even know if it's up to code anymore because
Right,
I mean, I know that from
probably not.
the paint booths, run under pretty tight, or at least
Right.
those that are legally used,
Right,
run under pretty tight regulations. So
yeah.
at the age of that one, I would question whether or not it's even, usable.
Exactly.
So, okay. Any questions with that item? All right. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Next item is action items. Consider and vote to approve bill list.
Okay. Do you have any questions or discussion regarding bill list? Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Brandel to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Jonas. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And next we have action items, consider and vote to approve the acceptable use policy for computer technology, internet, and Google for faculty, staff, and students. Second read. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Brando. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Third, consider and vote to approve the prevention and crisis intervention policy. Second read. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Ms. Azanero. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Mr. Brandel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, consider and vote to approve donation of retired Chromebooks to the East Providence community. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Brandel. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, consider, actually, we'll run through and Craig, Mr. Enos, I'll have you jump in for 5 through 9, and then I'll let you go into item 10 if you don't mind.
No problem. AI3 basic services, February 2021, $122,474.84. AI3 extra services, February 2021, $906.40. Gilbane Building Company, February 2021, $5,258,895.12. Peregrine Group LLC, February 2021, $59,000. Stephen Turner Inc., February 21, $5,471.50. Filch Engineering, February 2021, $7,220. And then finally, as the chairman said, with regards to item 10. So within the contract, within the budget that we have for the project, we have a line item to reimburse ourselves for electrical services, because currently the power for the work trailers, for the Gilbane trailers and the Peregrine Group trailers, and as well as the power for the new high school is running through the Career and Technical Center. So I am submitting an invoice to the city for approximately $45,000 to reimburse us for the electrical usage from January 20 through December of 2020. And then we have another $900 that we had to pay an application fee. So we are requesting reimbursement from the city of East Providence for $46,179.96. And that brings the total invoices for the month of February 2021 for $5,500,147.82.
Craig, just as I'm thinking out loud, right, just for clarity, as these get submitted to the city, these are paid through bond.
Correct. Correct.
Including that, and that's why, I just want to kind of make that clear. We're approving the invoice be sent, and that last one where it's, invoice to the city for reimbursement, but it's basically applying against the bond because it's part of the project.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to kind of put that there. Okay. Any questions, discussion, or motion?
Move to approve all items.
Motion by Mr. Jonas to approve items 5 through 10. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Brandel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Item 11, consider and vote to approve the amendment to the Transportation Services Agreement. This is regard to the busing. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Jonas. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And final, consider vote to approve the RFP for demolition removal of the paint booth. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Brandel. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Next item, please.
The next item is public comments to non-agenda items.
And do we have any?
There are no public comments received.
Thank you, Sharon. Hearing none. Next item.
The next item is announcements.
I have one announcement. I have forwarded you the link. Representative Greg Amori is being honored next Monday at 3 o'clock by the Superintendent's Association. He's receiving the Paul Crowley Award for outstanding leadership and support of public education in the state of Rhode Island. So you have the link before you. If you'd like to join, it is all being done virtually this year. It's usually a presentation made at the State House. So we encourage you to please join and in seeing and receiving and, being with Greg this Monday, March 15th, 3 o'clock.
Thank you.
That's it.
Any
Through the
other?
chair.
Please.
Just as an announcement, White Neck Elementary School has a calendar fundraiser, and nowadays it's very difficult to raise money, so that's their way of trying to raise money right now. And Myron J. Francis PTO is also putting together, it may be done by now, a calendar bingo, another lottery. So Myron J. Francis is doing also a calendar to raise some funds. So just wanted to make sure everybody knew about those two items too.
Thank you. Anything else? And I will, not so much an announcement, but another expression of appreciation to Ben, Carlos, and Mr. Fiol and his team for setting up the high school. We toss it back and forth each month. We're trying to do this hybrid in person, but just understand, it does take a significant amount of coordination, not on our parts. We just show up. But there's quite a bit of work that goes on to set up the space, and it's appreciated. And I definitely want our district folks to know that we'll kind of monitor this, because I don't want to pull in resources unnecessarily. But yeah.
I'll second that. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So with that said, I'll
Move we adjourn.
I'll entertain that motion to adjourn by Mr. Jonas. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Azanero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.